everybody, and welcome to the Kidney Coach YouTube channel. I am naturopath Fiona Chin, co-founder of Kidney Coach and Cogenesis, a range of supplements designed for people with chronic kidney health. Whether you've got a low EGFR or high creatinine, we might have a product for you. And I'm joined today by a new guest, the wonderful David Schneider. David is a water expert, quantum water expert, in fact. He is the owner of Quantum Age Water, which is a balanced water for personal hydration. He's got a really interesting story. And David, I'll get you to tell everybody a bit more about it, but you lived in Europe, and then you moved to Africa for a while and spent some time in front of the pyramids, which I think really shaped your idea about science and the universe and how everything works. And then you've done everything from having a career in natural foods and lots of work with blue-green algae, which is such a big thing now, and crop development and how to get crops like jojoba to grow in the middle of the desert. And then you've been an artist, and then you came and developed the stir ones from what you just told me before we hit record was to improve hydration for athletes. So why don't you just give us a bit of a background about you and your amazing history and what's led you to being such a guru on water and why it's so important?
Well, I was a kid that asked more questions than I should, probably, and so I used to ask my dad a lot of questions. He was in World War II for 5 years in the Pacific, so I used to drain him with all the answers of what all that was going on. And then when we moved to Africa and I was 14, he put me in front of the Grand Pyramid and he says, "Figure this one out. Nobody knows who built it or how they did it. Here's your new task. Stop asking me questions."
I think he thought that would keep you occupied for a while, huh?
Yeah. It didn't work. Now I had questions on ancient history.
Of course.
Well, fortunately, we moved to Africa and there were no schools, so he sent me to school in Europe. And so I was there for several years, and I would come back to Africa periodically. And so I've been all over Africa, especially with my dad when he traveled. And so when I came back to the United States, and grew up, finished high school and college, I moved to Los Angeles, and at the beaches, even the water was horrible. And so I got into water filtration and wanted to know about water, and you were dehydrated all the time. And so I always had this thought of, wonder what we could do to do something to make water better, because it's supposed to hydrate you much better than it is. And then I moved to Colorado, and I became a mountain racer. I used to race all the big high altitude mountain races, like up to 14,000 feet, Mount Evans, world highest road race. It's about a 15-mile one, so you need hydration. So one day I was working out in Copper Mountain Resort, and I came out of the restroom in there, and lo and behold, there's this guy that says, "You're one of those runners. Have you ever been to Lost Lake?" And I said, "No, where's that?" There's a deer trail across the freeway where the tennis courts is. Just hike up there. It's about 6-7 mile hike, I understand, and it goes up to 13,000 feet. Well, the next day I was all packed up in my backpack with empty bottles, because he told me the water was incredible up there. Well, it was. It was a very hard run to get up there. In fact, you couldn't run. It was just billy goating. And I stuck my head in that water, and in about 30 seconds, I felt like I was shot out of a cannon.
Oh, wow.
Why? I was completely depleted of hydration and oxygen mainly, because that's really what you want from hydration. And so I thought that was fantastic. And so I filled up all the bottles, and I went there every weekend for the next few years. Okay, because there you could get water that hydrated you, that really increased your athletic performance. And significantly. You could tell. The anaerobic aerobic threshold as a runner, you'd reach that and pass right through it and get more out of it. So I had that in my mind. Then being in the health food business most of my life, I was into water and water filtration and things like that. But no one knew how a human cell actually hydrated. It's been a mystery, total mystery, and everybody's wanting to know when somebody's going to figure it all out so we can start focusing on how we can actually really hydrate ourselves. And lo and behold, in 2003, my mother-in-law calls me and she says, "Dave, you can get back in the water business now." Because I'd gotten out of the water business. I didn't want to have any more to do with this. The stories about clusters and structure and microclusters is all nonsense, okay? And so I said, well, what's going on? She said, look up the 2003 Nobel Prize. And there it was. Peter Agree had done extended research on Rh factor protein in '85 and stumbled across unknown protein on a human cell with an electron tunneling microscope. All right. And so they diverted the research of Rh factor into looking at what's the new protein. And they came out about 4 years later. You're looking through an electron tunneling microscope, things that are angstroms in size, okay? Very, very small. And so he came out and he said, this is what we've discovered, and we're naming them aquaporins, that on a human cell, one human cell, there's thousands of little aquaporin channels, and at least hundreds of millions of single water molecules go down each one per second. Now, if that doesn't hurt your brain, nothing will. And that's the Nobel laureate right there. I mean, and everybody saw that and they said, oh my God, well, water molecules are an angstrom. I mean, they're so small, it's ridiculous. I mean, look up an angstrom. A micron is really small. If you've got micron powder in your hand, it just disappears if you rub it. A nanometer is 1,000 times smaller than that, and an angstrom is 1,000 times smaller than that. So it's almost inconceivable. Okay.
Wow.
So when you have that many, yeah, it's incredible. You have that many aquaporins on a single cell. You literally have trillions and trillions of single water molecules going each one of them per second, and you have 70 to 100 trillion cells. That's how it works. Okay. I mean,
that's the first time anyone's ever explained that. And sorry to interrupt you, David, but if anyone doesn't know, a stem cell or a small mobile stem cell is 5 microns, and you're talking about, that's a tiny little you're talking about how
thousands of times smaller. Thousands of times smaller.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the way it works.
Say that again for people, just so people really, because that's so important to understand. Just walk us through that again, because that's science. I've never heard anyone say that before. So
well, you can look that up. Look up aquaporin, AQUAPORIN, and his name is Dr. Agree, AGRE. 2 of them won it that year, Dr. Agree and Dr. McKinnon from Rockefeller University, and Dr. Agree was from John Hopkins. Okay, so it even gets worse than that as far as size is concerned, because Dr. McKinnon's proved that water and mineral ions go in through separate pathways. So you've got thousands of little ion channels on there too, where the minerals go in separately. And it's kind of, people think that minerals all go in at the same time water goes in. They go in through separate pathways. This is right on the Nobel Prize. And just repeat that again, you have a human cell, which you need an electron tunneling microscope to even see. And you have thousands of little aquaporins on that and hundreds of millions of single water molecules going out each one per second. And that's the Nobel laureate right there. And not only is it for humans, but virtually all life on the planet. When he gave his speech in Scandinavia, he said, listen, agriculture works the same way. All agriculture, okay? So these tools that we're talking about here today work on anything you do with water. And what you want is the chemistry balanced, okay? So when I saw that, I said, my God, it has to do with chemistry. This has to be the chemical balance at the inception of the cell, because if you're getting something that small, you can't have anything else in the water. You can just have water. Okay.
Yeah.
So the key thing here is this technology brings you down to 0.002 specific gravity, which is virtually nothing in the water. That's what it does. It'll take total dissolved solids and just push them out of the way. I've taken 0.023 specific gravity, which was a test I did on Las Vegas tap water, and it brought it down to 0.003 in 20 seconds. Okay, so that's really the trick right there. When you can bring water down and put a lot of energy into it, because water needs energy. I mean, we're electric beings, and so you need to put piezoelectric energy into water and stabilize it. And now it freely goes in the cells. And
this is why people drinking, from streams and things, that's how we used to do it, where it was, it had eddies and it was moving and we would drink out of the stream. Now we're drinking stuff through pipes that have got whatever pumped through it, and it's sort of what they call dead water, right?
Right.
So sorry, keep going.
Go ahead. What was that? It was a filtration process?
Well, I was just sort of saying, ancient times we were drinking water from streams, which would have been clean. And it was energized, right? Because it's whirling and moving and it's got vortexes. And now we drink stuff that for most people comes out of a pipe, or it's been sitting in a plastic bottle. It's had no movement to it. It's dead water. And then you're saying that water in some ways is because of, especially the new water, I guess, from coming from pipes, has got so much other stuff in it, it changes the size of the water particles. So cells cannot, in those tiny little aquaporins, you're not getting that quality water inside the cells because the water molecules potentially are too big because of all the other stuff going on with the water. Did I get that right?
Yeah, pretty much that's it. Yeah, the earth got polluted. As soon as we polluted the earth, we knocked the chemistry out of the water everywhere. Okay, I mean, look what we did in the Bikini Islands in the 1950s. They've admitted to 54 nuclear blasts. Okay, well, this doesn't do good things for water. And these were above ground and underwater. So there's an enormous amount of pollution that's gone on, and that was just us. And there's been, a dozen other countries. And so that's just the nuclear part of it. Now we have pesticides, herbicides, chemtrails, and everything is coming down on this earth. And she just went, I can't keep the chemistry balanced anymore. And that's when we started, dehydrating ourselves. And basically 75% of all disease somewhere comes from a dehydrated cell. It just festers up and you have problems with it. Okay. So when you can take the soils of the earth, let me start here. Where do you find the best water? Lourdes of France, Umajukuku in Japan, the Hunzas in the Himalayas. Well, these wells aren't polluted. I mean, they're still good wells, and the earth is still putting out good water. She makes her own water, so there's still a lot of good water coming up, but very few. It just isn't somewhere where you get it very easily. If you live in the mountains or out in the country and you're fortunate, that's good. I live at about 5,000 feet on the side of Crater Lake in Oregon, and it is pristine up there. But my water, it's good water, but it's not balanced chemistry. So it's you'd think it would be, but it's not. So it's hard to find it. Okay, so once you get that chemistry balanced and the hydration can flow into the cell therapeutically, you're home free. Now, I went to the A4M show, which is the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, in 2006, 7, and 8. Okay, when I got there in 2006, I had, I think, my second or third clinical. And this doctor was really funny. She's a pulmonary heart surgeon. She had her whole group with her. And she was like 6'5". And she leans on my shoulder and she says, "Mr. Schneider, this can't be true. You're drinking water and you can maximize blood oxygen? How does that work?" Well, water is oxygen. I mean, most of it is oxygen. Your oxygen molecule, if you have these two guys here, the oxygen, 16 times bigger and 8 times heavier, or vice versa. Okay, so it's a lot bigger than hydrogen is, and heavier. So approximately 65% of your physical weight is oxygen, the stuff you breathe. Okay, because you have trillions of cells. Add all that up, the atomic weight just adds up, and that's the main part of your weight right there. So what you really need is you need a lot of water coming into your body to flush all those oxygen out and give it new oxygen. Yeah, when I first did that, I was amazed, and so was the people doing the tests. They said, you're maximizing blood oxygen virtually immediately. Okay, and it does. I mean, I've done several over the years, microscopy, and one of them was a friend of mine. She called me. She says, "Dave, I'm dying of cancer. I don't know what to do anymore." "Well, drink the water." She says, "Well, I fouled it all up. I mixed different energies with it and whatever, and here I am sick." And so we went over to the East Bay and got her blood test, and of course she had rouleau all stacked up. And I got her to drink about 18 ounces of water, just a crystal geyser from Shasta, and I just put the stir wand in there and she glug about 20 ounces. And we said, "Test the blood." And the doctor didn't want to. He says, "You're going to have to wait an hour for that to work." And he said, "No, test it right now." And he said, "Well, okay, you're paying for it. I'll just have to do another one." And it was perfect. Her blood was perfect in less than 15 minutes. Now, so that's your blood is the greediest thing in the world for oxygen. I mean, you give blood, if it needs it, it will take it all immediately. That's standard operating procedure for your blood. Okay, well, when that happens, you maximize your blood oxygen. You're also maximizing your hydration and your ATP production. You know, I got so much energy out of this water when I was doing it for athletic performance that I said, "Hey, Melanie, can we test for ATP?" And she said, "Sure." This is more money, Dave. And so I tested. You have to use 100 people on the product and 25 people on a control. When
Yeah.
if you want to make a claim, you have to do that. A legal claim. You know. So there it was. ATP 11.4% increase just by drinking a glass of water. Okay. This also mitigates the problem with deuterium. Deuterium is becoming a really big problem now. Okay.
It really is.
Okay. So
But tell people, so I know about it, but for people that don't know about deuterium, and that's why people are into deuterium depleted water and energizing water and things, just walk people through what deuterium is, why it's gotten such a problem, and what that does to water when it's inside the body.
Right. You can't get away from it. It's been there since day one. When God made water, deuterium was there. Whether it was a mistake or not, I don't know. But you're not, the expense for taking it out and buying, deuterium-free water is like $18 a quart or something. So it's cost prohibitive for most people. It's great for therapy. If somebody really has a problem, you can take it in there and delete it. But you don't have to with this water, with the Stirlawand water or the new wraps, because you're producing 11.4%. You're putting out a lot of ATP, and that's the way it's supposed to work. That's how your body works. I mean, it needs water in all ways and shapes and forms. You'll balance your acid-alkaline ratio. On that, I ask him, we do an overall body pH, because I know about people. I've been doing this for years, and so people keep telling me my acid-alkaline ratio is getting much better, Dave. So I had her do that. It was 27.2% towards neutral for the group. It was, and that's a lot. That may be the best statistic in that clinical, was that, okay? And then cellular toxins were about 19%. And this is in 90 days. All this is in 90 days. The oxygen and the hydration and the ATP is immediate, but when we want cellular detox and overall body pH and things like this, they'll take more time. And then heavy metals was always a big thing, because people were telling me for years, David, this is really getting rid of my heavy metals. I'm doing the testing on it. Why don't you test that next time? And so I did, and it takes 75% of the mercury out in 90 days, and 68% cadmium, 43 lead, 41 aluminum. So water does all of this, but you have to get it in the cell. That's the point. It has to be balanced chemistry, and it has to get in the cell, and you have to be able to the piezoelectric energy from the minerals. I just use earth minerals. That's all.
That's what's in the. So for anyone that doesn't know, this is a Cellular.
That's all that's in there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. People want to know all the time. What are the minerals in there? What are the minerals in there? What's the secret? And is all of them are in there. The entire periodic table, because they come from different resources. So eventually, when you mix them all and grind them up, because they're nanoparticles, it's a huge job. It's not easy to make the material, because it has to get really, really small, and you have to mix it right. But essentially, a lot of people have tried. I've had many technology transfers offered to me. Foreign countries want it. At any rate, that's essentially it. When you can take this and have the energy, of course, comes through the plastic. It's just subtle energies, And,
so I'm assuming the pores in here are like little aquaporins, right? So you've got tiny little filtration things. So when you're doing that, the water's moving in through the minerals in the middle and back out again, right?
Yeah, just energy is in there. All it is putting out piezoelectric energy. The same thing your body produces to live on. And what you feel. Okay, and then on the wraps, these guys, you just come from the outside in as opposed from the inside out.
So for anyone, because we can't see your wraps there, Dave, but so these are the wraps. So you've got a pipe there that's already wrapped. So you want to show everybody what that pipe looks like?
Oh yeah, here you go.
Yeah. So how does it work on the outside? I get on the inside when you're stirring your water. Walk us through
it's radiating piezoelectric energy. You can't stop it. It's like, there's no on and off switch on anything you have. It's metaphysical tools. They put off energy, and that's what it's doing. So when you wrap a pipe like this, the energy now is touching the pipe and going through the pipe into the water. on the stir wand, it's coming out of the plastic and into the water. And that's just subtle energy, you know. I mean, people have a problem with that. A lot of scientists. I've had people get up and walk out of the room, and I said, "It's your lab that told you that." You know, it's your lab I'm testing it with. And they just shake their head because they, you know, something has to work for them. They need a quotient on the chalkboard, you know, a formula and all that. And I said, well, I have one of those, you know, but I'm not going to show it to you. And they go ballistic. And I said, well, why not? I said, well, as soon as you show me the one for electricity, I'll show you mine. Because we don't have one for electricity. We know how to use and manipulate electricity. I mean, it's a marvelous tool. Well, I know how to use and manipulate minerals. Energy and minerals. They know how to do that, but no one ever, you know, wrote a book on it. You know, we didn't get into quantum physics or anything like that, you know, back in the old days. A lot of people were, but you know, there's it's a completely different way of looking at energy.
Well, it's interesting because I was saying to you before we hit record, so you sent me some of these discs, which I know are very hard for you to make, and they go anywhere on the body, and I'm assuming then, so they're sending out piezoelectric energy, they're changing the cellular hydration under the patch that they're in. So if anyone that doesn't know, I broke my leg years ago and I've got bolts in my leg, and if I overtrain at the gym, which I'd done yesterday, that where those bolts are, it hurts, and I get some quite deep, I don't know what you call them, trigger points. So last night I slept with one of these taped on, and it was decently painful enough, and in the middle of the night when I woke up to go to the bathroom, pain completely gone. So I was like,
you know, it's what it does. It dissolves inflammation. It brings heat, warmth, and blood right to the spot where you put it. And as far as maybe when you broke your arm like that, I've had this technology for about 12 years. I just haven't been able to get it out. You know, my life's been very busy. I had to take care of my mother-in-law for a long time because her family wouldn't do it. And she was my best friend. She's a great person. And so I had to push everything to the side. And now she passed, so I have plenty of time to work on this. But I've had this technology for a really, really long time, about 12 years. And go ahead.
no, I was going to say, so it's amazing. So I'm going to go back to the deuterium, because a lot of people with water are talking about deuterium and deuterium depletion. So what happens when you've got a high deuterium load in the system as far as health and things like that, just so people understand why it's important to try and deplete deuterium in your water and things like that?
Well, I think hydration will get it out if that's the case. For sure, if you have a if you have a high load on that. I think because people are dehydrated, that the deuterium is more concentrated and you have more of a problem with it.
Right, so if the air gets around the other way, it's potentially because we're dehydrated, we've got higher, because people are talking about foods are very high in deuterium if you're eating lots of processed foods and things like that, but you're thinking it's more if you're adequately hydrated, being properly hydrated will move deuterium out of.
You know, I don't know that anyone's ever done any testing like that, and they certainly haven't done it with my product. Okay, but this product takes everything else out of your body in a dramatic way. Okay, and I know that we produce with this 11.4% deuterium, ATP increase. And if the deuterium is breaking down your ATP, you know, you're going to have to live with whatever it breaks down. But if you're therapeutically hydrating yourself, you're mitigating that and pushing past the problems that you might have with it.
Yeah, okay. So for anyone that doesn't know, deuterium basically interrupts, and please don't tell me where I'm wrong with this, but my understanding is deuterium interrupts the ATP cycle. So you're ATP, it sort of breaks that electron transport chain, right?
Yeah, well, that's what they're saying it does. And I think that's probably true. There's not an enormous amount of research on deuterium. I mean, there isn't like a whole bunch of human clinical trials where we could, you know, there just isn't. You know, there's a lot of rats and mice and things like that now. And I think we're in the early stages of what deuterium is doing to us. But I think that we never had the problem until we were so dehydrated. And so I think that is more the issue than anything else. That would be my guess. You know, I don't know that.
It's interesting. There was a book written, you would know, by a guy years ago saying you're not sick, you're just dehydrated. I remember when I was studying it.
Bob Angelic.
That's the one. Yeah. And that was his big thing, is that most of us are just chronically dehydrated. He obviously didn't have all this science, but he was like, most diseases stem from chronic dehydration.
Yep, right. Yeah. Farhadun Bab Manjelak, he was thrown into prison in Persia, years and years ago. They put him in jail for like 20 years, and all he had was a great well. He had a well that was balanced chemistry, and they wouldn't give him any medical goods to help anybody with. They said, "You're the doctor, help him." And so that's all he had, was he got everybody drinking tons of water, and he healed a lot of people.
Fascinating. That's where I didn't realize that was the backstory. There you go. Okay.
Yeah. You're not sick, you're thirsty.
That's it. That's right.
That's his. He's about the only person I'll talk about in the water business, because he makes sense. See, I'm into hydration of the human cell. Everybody else is into how you have a lady down in New Zealand, I believe, Veda Austin. She's got some beautiful work in hydration, and what she does is she does something very similar to, but much better than, I think, than who's the famous doctor with the frozen.
Oh, Kasamoto. Is it Kasamoto? The frozen water, where they talk into the water and then freeze it and produce.
Yeah. I mean, that's a marvelous thing that he showed about what water does and how you can put energy into it, or thoughts and things like that, and show that up. But there are a lot of people doing things that don't have anything to do with hydration. And then there's a lot of things about that they want to say about water that just aren't true. Clusters and structures and microclusters, they keep coming up with all of this, yet it was proven 23 years ago that that's not what's happening. So
it's fascinating. Okay. And what about, because there's a big movement at the moment about structuring water.
Yeah.
So
this would be structuring water. If you want to use that term, I choose the term balancing the chemistry, because that's what I'm doing. Structured water. What is the structure of water is two hydrogens and an oxygen, a deuterium isotope and two oxygen isotopes. Okay, and that's the structure of water. Now, when you want to put it in your cell, you want singles. You don't want any kind of cluster or structure or anything like that. You just simply don't, because it won't go in the cell. Only angstrom-sized water molecules go down the aquaporin. It's so small. Okay, so there's the that's it.
Yes, not. I'm looking for it to be more complicated, and it's really not. Which I always say.
No, it's not. It's not. No, when I do lectures, like at East West Bookstore in Mountain View, there'd be 85 people just to fill that room, and it takes me about 10, 12 minutes to tell the story.
Yeah.
And then I answer questions for an hour and a half, because people can't get their questions answered. And I've been on the phone for 23 years with these products, answering everybody's calls. And so whatever you want to throw at me, I can give you the answer or where to solve it from. But essentially, it boils down to Mother Earth. She's giving this to us. All I did was take her minerals the right way. It took me a long time to figure this out, and a lot of work and a lot of equipment, so it wasn't easy. But basically, I took her minerals, put them in here, and that's what she used to give us naturally. I mean, when I was a kid in the 50s, running around on my bike and I was thirsty, I just turned on anybody's faucet, and drink out of the hose, and there it was. You get lit up and you're all hydrated.
Yeah, right. So let's talk about these stir ones, because I think the kidney community, hydration, being the kidneys are the organ that really is at the forefront of hydrating and pulling minerals in and out.
Right.
Talked about these alkalize the water, which is one of the biggest things that kidneys do, and that it takes the most energy because of the homeostatic mechanisms of the body. The body will prioritize everything else, but it will not negotiate on making sure that your acid alkaline balance is at least in that bracket, because you move out one way or the other and you're going to end up in a coma and dead. So kidneys spend a lot of energy trying to keep your pH balanced, which is when we look at kidney disease, it's starting to move. So I always say one of the easiest things for kidney disease is to get your body alkaline, because it will free energy up for the kidneys to start healing other tissue. And it looks like this is just a lovely way to improve the quality of your water and do that.
Yep.
You've got your minerals here. 20 seconds, you said, to sort of
Well, you know, the one test that Melanie did in 20 seconds, so maybe they work faster than that. But I think she did it on a small amount of water. I always say 30 seconds because that's what I always did the tests in. But it's much more efficient than it was in the past. And so 20 seconds is probably good for 8 ounces, 10 ounces of water. If you're going to do a gallon, stir it. But usually people just leave them in their water bottles and just keep filling the water bottle. That's all you need to do. You don't have to stir it, and it doesn't make any difference which way it goes.
Okay. Mine does sitting there all day. And how long does a wand last?
I've never had one wear out because how old's the minerals?
Well,
Billions of years.
This is great because you sent me 3 and I was like, am I keeping all of these or am I going to give away a couple for Christmas? Because I was
well, Christmas, or you might want somebody else to try it and give some feedback on it. And I didn't know if you wanted to do your whole house. 4 of these will probably give you 5 gallons a minute on your whole house, but you'd have to set it up in the pipes the right way.
That is a job for my uncle who's coming over this weekend to get the major pipe that's coming in. You're so generous because you sent me a big one. So the major pipe coming into the house to get wrapped, and then the one under my sink which feeds my water filter.
The water filter, put one just before the water filter and then after it,
Yeah, I'll do that. Amazing.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, keep going.
I have small ones. These are half the size of the big ones.
Okay, I've got a big one up there.
You know those little silver question mark things that come out of your kitchen sink with the water filter water? Okay, that just wraps around that, and you've got Stir One water forever coming out of your little faucet there.
And what I love about it is when you move, you just take it off and take it with you.
Yes, exactly right. Exactly right.
Amazing. All right. So do you want to talk to, because everyone listening really majorly has kidney disease, is there anything you want to add specifically for, hydration kidneys? Is there any extra information that people might not know when it comes to kidney health and hydration? Have you done anything specific, or just because we're alkalizing in the mineral content, we're going to see it improve in the proper
you'll see it improve automatically.
Yeah.
My cat's tearing the door apart. Be right back.
Oh, go and fix the cat. Let's not have a cat kill a door.
There we go. I locked her in the room, or she got locked in the room somehow.
What type of cat do you have?
Oh, Abyssinian.
Oh, beautiful.
Cat. She's gorgeous. Yeah. This is my 3rd one.
Right. Yeah, once you get to know a breed, it's easy to stay with them, huh?
They last about 20 years, and it's sad, but you go out and get another one. Mm-hmm. So when you want to work on your kidneys, you have to filter them just like they filter you. Okay, mm-hmm. So that's what's happening here. Is you'll get as much efficiency out of your kidneys as you can by drinking this water. That's I don't know where else to go with that. Now you're using supplements and medicine and prescription drugs probably, or whatever you need for the seriousness of the problem with the client. But all of that is restricted to how much hydration you have.
100%.
People dig big teaspoons of green drinks, and I'm going to detox myself, especially chlorella for a meal. Well, it's only as good as how much water you can flush that out with. And there's never any detox problem. You'll really detox with this water, seriously detox, but you'll never get sick from it because that's what your body wants to do, is release everything.
Yeah. Fascinating. So I know I've got your amazing website. I'm going to put links down below for everybody, but everybody can go to stirwands.com and you can get the silicone water wraps. There's a big thing saying new silicone water wraps. You can click on that for those, and then you've got the stir wands, and if you're saying a stir wand has never run out, they're only $135.
$135, yeah. They used to be $90 for many, many years. I just ran out of material and had to go buy more material, plastic and things like that. And they went 4 or 5 times in price,
Yes.
Yeah.
No, so then it's cheap.
Right?
If they're going to last forever, that's cheap.
Yeah. This is Triton material. It's the safest plastic in the world today.
That was my next question about microplastics and all of those kind of things.
Yeah.
So.
I used to make them out of polycarbonate, which is better, really. I like molding with polycarbonate. It's better to mold with anything, but it became a problem with bisphenol A and hormones with women and water bottles and things like that. I use surgical grade, which you have to catch it on fire before it'll be toxic. But I just went to this for the psychological reason that people didn't want polycarbonate anymore. So I went straight to the Triton. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, you're doing such amazing work, and I just love the simplicity of it, right? You know, it's like we try to.
Well, I said it's not complex. Water is not complex. It's really simple. The Earth, and nobody argues with Tesla with 74.6 trillion watts of energy coming off the Earth every second. Well, that's what charges the water. It charges everything. Okay, so you have rock, water, and the energy of the Earth. Rock, water, and the energy of the Earth. I just contained it in plastic, and this one I put it in. This is for your face too. I mean, this is the same silicone that they make up for Star Wars and everything. So that way you can put it on. Before I forget, you were talking about your pin in your leg.
Yes.
Well, my mother-in-law had a balancing center, a healing center. And so what I did was a girl came in, she was 14 years old, she had her arm broken, but she had one of those casts you could take off. Mm-hmm. It's like, can I take the cast off and braid your daughter's arm? And she says, sure. And so the numbness, she was broken the day before. So he was still numb and throbbing. All the throbbing went away before I was finished braiding. You know, because it goes in instantly, there's no hesitation. Because what all this is what you have is energy in your body naturally. When you put these discs, you know, these little guys here on the bottom of your feet, mm-hmm. It's the same thing as drinking water. The same energy is going in there. Yeah, the same energy is going up the bottom of your foot, or wherever you want the. So yeah, there you go.
Mm. You know, like I say, I had the bigger one on my hip last night, and chronic pain is something I deal with every day, and I was in a decent amount of pain with it. And yeah, it was a couple of hours and the pain completely disappeared. And then this morning I'm back, I've been at the gym doing a very heavy lifting day today, and that leg is not upset at all, hasn't re-aggravated it. So it definitely, and that it's hard for, once I get something in there, it can take weeks to clear. So that was overnight. I was like, okay, that's impressive.
Yeah, if you put two of those on the bottom of your feet, these are pretty thick. They're about 1/3 the thickness. Then you don't feel them down there. Okay. And you put them on the bottom of your feet, and some point during the day, you're going to go, wait a minute, I got to take these out. Your energy level will come up to where it should normally be with what water gives you. We should be super energetic people. You know,
we should.
We have so many issues out there that we're having to push through that it makes it more difficult. Yeah. And
for anyone that doesn't know, your kidney meridians are right, kidney ones are right on the base of your feet, so it makes sense that, and don't the feet have they've got their vessels in the blood feet are slightly different. It's why lots of toxins and things move down to the feet. I was listening to something about it the other day, but the whole blood flow through the feet are different in the way it regulates the body. Plus you've got the kidney meridian going through there, so putting them on the feet makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
If you want circulation in your feet, you put two of those at the bottom of your feet and go to sleep at night, or wear them in your feet all day. Because the blood will go right there. You know, you'll feel it immediately.
Okay, I've got terrible circulation in my feet from the spinal cord injury, so I will try that. David, what else do you...
Anywhere there's inflammation on the outside of your body, these work great, but think about what the water is doing inside your body. And when you're putting those trillions and trillions of single water molecules just in one aquaporin, so I mean, the number you have all at once, that's hydrogen therapy. You don't need a Brown's gas machine or a hydrotherapy machine. You're mainlining oxygen and hydrogen right into your cells. There is no choice. I mean, it's saturating them with both of those, and that's why your body is just doing so well. It's what your body wants.
You know, everybody's using hydrogen water now, so they're putting hydrogen tabs or hydrogen water bottles. You wouldn't need hydrogen.
I've tried those, and it doesn't make any difference, because when you drink this, you're going to have plenty of hydrogen. Now, therapeutically, you might want more for a reason. And so I'm not saying that's bad, but I wonder how much of it is actually going in you, because it's really hard to measure hydrogen in your body. I mean, when you pull the glass out of the Brown's gas machine, you put it to your lips, you've lost 85% of it, and then maybe 94% by the time you get it down. and then you have to absorb it in your body because it doesn't go in like you would normally for water hydration. So it's a different process there, I think. And so
Yep.
when you get it the natural way, I mean, if you have a glass of water sitting here and there's, let's say, 10 ounces in there, somewhere in like 2 ounces of that water is pure hydrogen. You can't measure the number of hydrogen molecules in that water, that 2 ounces, but you're pushing that into your body, bang, all at once. And so there's your hydrogen therapy, your oxygen therapy, you're defeating deuterium, you're increasing your ATP production, maximizing your blood oxygen and acid alkaline ratios, detoxing heavy metals. It just happens all at once. It isn't like something you have to wait for. Now, if you want to get 75% of your mercury, that happens in 90 days. But from day one, as soon as you start drinking, it's pushing it out of your body. As long as you're not taking it in, you'll get it all out.
This is amazing. Well, I've just run the test, so I can do before and afters, but I'm excited.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was doing so well. I was looking for someone who would do the testing. Because I gave up on water. I said, I'm not going to go out there and say anything more about water and hydration ever in my life until I can prove it clinically. Because the stories out there are just mind-boggling. It's the crazy things that people say, about what's going on. I mean, there was the Dr. Pollock's water, that thing he found inside the cell. Yeah, that's amazing. Those books are great, and I think his discovery is fantastic. But you don't drink that for hydration. That happens inside the cell.
So this is interesting because all his work is about, like, basically how we turn water into sort of structured quantum water, and it's done inside the body. And you're right, we can't drink that. So I guess your point is when you're drinking, in fact, his book's right next to me, that when you drink water like this, when it's small enough, you're going to increase all of that amazing water that people are talking about, the quantum water.
That's how it's made.
Structured water, but it's doing this is the fastest, easiest way to do it without all the other gadgets and everything else it's talking about.
Yeah. And when all those molecules are going into that cell, you can imagine what's going on. Because some of it are detoxing you, some of it are making ATP, some of it's going to the different cycles in there. Some of it are making the Dr. Pollock's water. All of these different things are happening instantaneously, extremely fast. And that's, but I mean, the simplicity of water itself. I mean, people make it a huge story. It's not a story. Mother Earth simply is energy, balances the chemistry of her water, which hydrates everything. Snails, goats, birds, lizards, everything. Everything hydrates the same way. And so the Earth was just giving it to everybody. That's what she does. She just keeps on giving. And then we polluted her, knocked the chemistry out. And what this does is rebalance the chemistry. And it's that simple.
Well, I love it. I love simplicity, and I love it when we bring it back to nature, because I always believe that's the way it is. When it gets too complicated, I feel like we've just humanized it. So I love this. David, thank you. Is there anything else you want to add about this? I'm going to put in your website below for people that are interested, and I'll let everybody know in our kidney groups of a nice, simple way that they can get much better quality water. But is there anything that we haven't spoken about that you want to add?
Oh, I'm sure there's lots of things. I mean, I can go on for hours. I mean, you're not really asking me a lot of questions. People just pound on me from every direction you can possibly imagine. And but I've covered what people need to know. They need to know that this isn't expensive. It's not. No. Here. This is really simple here. It's not about where the water comes from, what the label says, how great the story is. You have all these fancy waters, $9 a bottle. If the chemistry isn't balanced, tap water is just as good, basically. I mean, I did one of those tests was on tap water versus purified water, and 1% difference. Because once you stir it, you've dropped the specific gravity down to nothing. And you certainly don't want to drink it because you might have MTBEs, atrazine, fluoride, glyphosate. These things are in solution of the water. You're not going to get those out. But if they're not in there and you're just drinking regular tap water and stirring this, more than half the stir wands are only used on tap water. That's why they can't afford anything else. And so this gives Right.
Yeah, take, like if you've got glyphosate and things like that, that's going to take it out.
No, I'm saying that you can't take those things. You have to take those out with exchange resins.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
I've had people, metaphysical people tell me that the energy you do in the wands and all that, David, masks the fluoride, and there's absolutely no proof of this. What
Okay.
I've done is I've proven that it won't take it out. Okay, so you don't want the fluoride in there. If you have the problem in fluoride in your city, get an exchange resin filter. They're expensive, but that's the only way you're going to get it out.
Got you.
So,
Thank you for being honest and upfront about that. So this is really about changing the energy quality of the water. So you're actually getting the smaller size water so it can get through the aquaporins. If you
essentially,
yep.
what's in this water are nothing but single water molecules, energized. Okay, they're separate from each other with as much energy as you put in there, and that's the trick, because it's stable for at least 2 days in an open bottle on a laboratory bench. So that's stability. That's the one thing they said when they were first testing this. She said, "Hey, listen, Dave, I had to take a phone call, so I was going to start your test over. I just had to do that. When I came back, nothing changed. The water is stable." And so she had to explain that to me. And if you want something delivered into your cells, this is where to do it. The
Okay.
water.
So I guess what anyone listening is, you still need to filter out your glyphosates, your fluorides and
Yes.
things like that. And then you want to stir good quality water with the stir wand and go from
Right,
there.
yeah.
To add your hydrogen and, do all the other stuff, it's going to structure it. It's going to change the size of the particles so that those aquaporin cells sitting on every cell structure can actually take the water in and adequately hydrate the cell, which
Right.
will reduce inflammation, improve the mobility of toxins out of the body, antioxidants, all of those sort of things, plus supercharge ATP, because you've got more of that ATP moves through a electron water pathway. It needs adequate hydration to be able to produce good quality ATP. Yeah.
Yep. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. The one thing I can add here is you can use this in any liquid. Any liquid. All of your juices, the one thing it does is deagglomerate. That means if you have like your protein powder is in a glass and you pour your juice in, you have to take the spoon and rub it against the side you mix it all in, and finally it sticks against the sides. Use one of these things and it'll deagglomerate it and dissolve it right away. That's
Okay.
what it does.
That's good to know, as I spoon out my protein powders in the morning and have
Yes,
exactly.
it'll deagglomerate anything like that. In fact, you've heard of C60? Okay. Well, this little jar right here, this is a spin plate here. And so what I did was I wrapped a quartz flask. Okay.
Yeah.
And I poured the MCT or olive oil in there
Yeah.
and spun it for 12 hours, and it was done. It takes weeks on end to spin C60 into olive oil or MCT oil. It takes me 12 hours. It's difficult to build a big one to do 200 gallons at once or something like that. But this is how you deagglomerate stuff. And you can do it for that, or engine oils. You want to, if you have paraffinic based petroleums, you want to put this in engine oils. It'll reduce the coefficient of engine. I mean, the C60 is a nanometer in size, and it's harder than a diamond. Okay,
Yeah.
so it'll go through any blood-brain barrier you have or anything like that. So it'll just polish an engine if you mix it in with paraffinic-based petroleums. So those are the commercial values that it has. So your fish tank in your house, just leave a stir wand in it. The fish love it. If you have a great big brahmi, those great big huge fish,
Yeah.
hold on tight. Make sure it's dry, and they'll grab it, and there'll be a tug of war. And you're going to lose if your hand gets wet, because there's fish are real strong. They'll pull it right out of your hand. They're never going to give it back. I lost 3 of them to Trinity. She had her 3 stir wands, and the owner of the store thought it was really great. But that was anyway. If animals love it, if you want to try it, two bowls of water, 1 regular and 1 stir wand. The animal will always go to the stir wand water, always.
Same thing, you just leave the stir wand in there. I've got a great big Doberman who's asleep on the couch right now, so I'll make his water up and just put a stir wand into his water bowl.
And
He likes
so
to
it
drink
doesn't-
out of my toilet bowl. He is a picky pants, so I'm doing this because he's just gone upside down on the couch. I'd be very interested to see. He likes, I think, the toilet bowl water because it's tank water, and obviously it gets spun as it goes into the toilet. So I can't get him to drink.
As soon as you do the whole house, everything will have it. You see what your flow rate is there, and 4 of them should be fine on the whole house. But if I can always send you more. Just let me know. But they do a 1.5 gallon speed. The flow rate on the big one is 1.5 gallons because I designed it for the kitchen sink nozzle.
Yep.
And then your shower head, where you walk around with a shower thing like this. We'll just braid that. You'll never go back. Your hair won't dry because it's going to hydrate and get really, really wet. It's never been that wet before, and you'll never be that clean. Yeah, wash your glasses with this, and you'll just go, "Oh my God, I've never seen them this clean before."
Okay, I've got so many. I've got a house full of plants, so my plants are excited.
What I'm really saying is water is useful. I mean, the reason you put detergent in your laundry is to break the water down into single water molecules, so it acts as a surfactant. Okay, so now you don't have to do that. You can just keep one in your washing machine and use like 1/4 the amount of soap.
Okay,
yeah, that's one thing you can do. I mean, I can go on and on with things you can use it for. The best one that people like the best, and you have to be really careful. There's a big warning on this one. Okay. My friend Joe calls me from Louisiana and said, "Hey, Dave, got me $40 bottle of Bordeaux from your wand." I said, "What?" "Yeah, I bought a bottle of $2 Chuck. That stuff will curl your teeth. The tannins are so young." He just stirred the bottle of wine and it opened the whole bottle up. No more tannins, no more. Yeah, yes, but you have to be careful because you can go too far. If you stir it too long, it'll oxidize it and it won't taste good. And if you got a great bottle of wine, don't use it at all because you don't need to. Okay, but if you're using cheap wine or something like that, it'll open it up and the flavor will be much, much better. Apple juice, orange juice, it'll all taste better and you'll see. Yeah, I can go on and on with all this if you want. I mean, anything that's liquid, it'll work in.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely going to try because, like I say, I've got a house full of plants, so I'm going to water all of the plants with stir wand water as well.
Yep.
But I'll wrap the pipes on the weekend, so that will be my thing to do. So.
Yeah. Braid it nice and tight. You don't want to stretch it, but you want to pull it taut. See, you want to pull it taut on it.
Okay.
And then it's good forever. I mean, I've had it 12 years and it's not worn out yet. So, and the wands. I had a lady call me a couple of years ago. And she says, "Dave, I got you." She says, "I want 2 new wands for this." And she'd bought one of my original wands that one of my distributors put in boxes and it was all fancy. She says, "I want 2 new ones for this. I got it off of eBay." And I wanted it, and just wanted to see what it was like. It was about 18, 19 years old and worked fine.
Wow, that's amazing.
The minerals can't wear out.
Well, that's a true story.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway,
Dave,
it's a lot of fun. Athletic performance, anything you want to do like that. If you're a bicyclist or anything, you're doing aerobic exercise, you'll notice right away you can push your aerobic threshold. You'll just get out there and you'll start pushing hard, and the burn won't be as bad, and you'll be able to push harder. But you also get, it's like, if you can do 50 push-ups and this makes you do 75, you're going to have, it's only going to go to 75. It just doesn't keep going. You're going to get in better shape, and it's going to bring you to that point.
Amazing.
But that's what your body wants, and the recovery from hard athletic work is great. That's where the inflammation really shows up, because your recovery the next day is you feel much better.
Well, I lift decently heavy weights 3-4 times a week, so I'm interested to see how that goes. That's great.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. I love it.
No, I really appreciate it. And I know I haven't asked a heap of questions, but I'm someone that just, when it's simple and things like that, and it makes sense to me, I'm just like, I don't want to overcomplicate it. And the bulk of our listeners are going to have kidney disease, so they understand the importance of alkalizing their water to take that strain off the kidneys, and then adequate hydration, so we're getting more water molecules into the cells will just improve filtration inside the cells, meaning the kidneys don't have to overwork to do things. So I think it's such a simple thing that people can implement that's not expensive if you've got chronic kidney disease. I don't know why you wouldn't try it. So I'll put up the link for everybody that's listening if you want to try the Stir Wands, and we'll let our database know, and we'll have a whole pile of people try it, David, and we'll let you know how it goes. But I'm interested.
It works on all your organs the same way it does in the kidney. It is, everything's the same. It's going to help everybody simultaneously. People complain about their pancreases and their small intestines. Well, your pancreas produces the bicarbonates to keep that small alkaline bath in your intestine. And that's really important, because people who have that problem, they start hydrating again, it just goes away.
Interesting.
Hydration solves a lot of problems.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
David, it's been a delight. It's so lovely to meet you, and I will send you a copy of the recording once it's up. And thank you again. For all our listeners, I will put in the link to David's website. It is stirwands.com. If you want to know more about what we do, head to www.kidneycoach.com. Make sure you hit subscribe and like. That way you'll get notified anytime we put up new content. David, thank you so much for being a light in the world and everything that you do. We are all eternally grateful for you helping us all hydrate better at a particular...
If you get more, if you have a lot of people who want more questions, just I'll do another one for you.
I'm sure I will. So I'll wait and see what the questions are, and we'll do a follow-up for sure.
Okay. Sounds great.
Thanks, David. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.